That night was an eye-opening experience for everyone around me because they finally knew the true thoughts in my head and the real pain I was feeling in my heart. I was planning to end my life. Today, looking back, I am so grateful for the people who called and saved me because they knew and believed in me that I would and will get justice for the things this so-called man has put me and my family through. I felt like I've been living a double life, having to keep quiet and wanting to say 24/7 for the last year. I haven't been able to be my true self, and the reason for that is Mike Boston.
Before this sentencing even begins, you need to understand just how devastating and deeply disturbing this case really is. Because at the center of this courtroom is not just a criminal charge, but the collapse of an entire family. The defendant, Michael Boston, wasn't a stranger. He wasn't a neighbor. He wasn't even a distant relative. He was a stepfather, a man this victim called Dad, a trusted protector who, according to the victim, spent years grooming her, secretly giving her alcohol, photographing her, and sexually abusing her while she slept. By the time she finally spoke out, she wasn't just traumatized, she was suicidal. Tonight, you're going to hear a judge confront a man who destroyed the very family he claimed to love. You'll hear a daughter describe living in fear of every man she sees. You'll hear a mother explain how one revelation shattered her children's lives overnight. And you'll watch a courtroom wrestle with a haunting question. How long should someone go to prison when the crime isn't just abuse, but betrayal? Because in cases like this, the damage doesn't end when the crime stops. It echoes through childhood, through memory, through identity itself. And today, that reckoning arrives.
You're Mr. Boston, right?
Yes, sir.
Represented by Mr. Oswald. We have Mr. Goodyear from the prosecutor's office, Officer Henry from probation. We also have Ms. Kennard from the victim's advocate's office. We are here today for the purpose of sentencing. As a preliminary matter, the court has provided to me a thumb drive with the images on them. That has been filed under seal. And we also have 133 days of jail time credit. Does that sound right to everybody?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any reason not to go forward with the matter of sentence today?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor. All right, so we have the Reagan-Tokes notification of indefinite sentence. Mr. Boston, your attorney should have had you read over what we're going to attach as Court's Exhibit 1. That is indicating that you are going to receive an indefinite sentence in this case. If you want me to read that to you or explain something in it further, I can do that. If you're satisfied that you understand, we can keep on moving ahead.
I understand.
All right, next we have notification regarding post-release control. This will be attached to the sentencing entry as Exhibit number 2, indicating that there is a mandatory period of post-release control of 5 years. Mr. Boston, same thing. If you want me to read this to you or explain it to you further, I can do that. But if you're satisfied, we can move on.
We'll move on.
All right. And finally, Officer Henry has already read to you the registration notification requirement form, right?
Yes.
Indicating that you are going to register as a Tier 2 sex offender. Do you want me to read or explain that to you any further?
No, sir.
All right. Anything else preliminary to come to my attention before we get started?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor. All right. Mr. Goodyear, on behalf of the state.
Your Honor, I know that the victim and her mother both would like to make a statement, so I would like to start with that.
Okay.
Are you going to read it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry, Ms. Kennard is going to read the victim's statement.
Okay.
Your Honor, so the victim is here, but she wants me to read her statement. This man we are here with today has truly ruined mine and my family's lives, leaving us to pick up all the pieces alone. A little background about my life. Growing up, it was just me and my mom against the world until Mike finally convinced my mom to be with him. They met when my mom was 19, and I've known Mike since I was about 2 years old. My life changed. It wasn't just me and mommy against the world anymore. I was getting a little brother and a family. Then they broke up, and we thought it was for good, but it wasn't. They ended up back together, and as we all know, and had my other brother who I wouldn't trade for the world. I felt like I was getting it all back again. There was a wedding and everything. He was the man I called Dad for years, and he was finally my stepdad. We even talked about him adopting me so I would officially be his. Little did we know how sick he truly was. Only a man so evil would do this to someone he called his daughter, a child. But he did. And he never said a word, never acted any different the next morning. Everything was normal, which made me feel insane for years of my childhood, especially because of the alcohol he was secretly giving me. Because of his actions and everything he put me through, I've even been too scared to stay the night at friends' houses. I've had panic attacks in their bathrooms, unable to drive home because of my anxiety. Now I'm scared every time I walk into a room and see a man. I can't go to the store alone without panic attacks. I'm even too scared to go to a gas station by myself. There were even times at school when a male friend hugged me and I had a panic attack because I was so uncomfortable and afraid. I still have nightmares about him coming home from work in the morning and waking me up. I've lost countless friendships because parents were afraid and because of the backlash I faced for coming forward. I lost years of my childhood, years that forced me to grow up too fast. The last year of my life has been the most difficult, stressful, challenging, and painful journey I've ever experienced or endured, and that's all because of him. Nobody truly understands how much hurt he has caused me, from being bullied at school by the people I thought were my very best friends, and even some cousins, to dealing with anxiety, PTSD, panic attacks, and depression. I had to leave school and switch to online learning because of him. I don't get to attend school anymore without feeling like every pair of eyes is on me. Everyone is talking about me or having November 2024 was one of the very lowest points of my life. That was when I left school because of my mental health. The night that made everyone finally wake up and stop feeling sorry because I was truly opening up. I was on a late night drive after an awful day at school, and I texted some of the people I cared about the most at the time just to tell them I loved them, not realizing they wouldn't know my true intention until later that night. I am so thankful for the people who reached out to my mom and called just to make sure I was okay. I was so angry, hurt, tired, and confused. That night was an eye-opening experience for everyone around me because they finally knew the true thoughts in my head and the real pain I was feeling in my heart. I was planning to end my life. Today, looking back, I am so grateful for the people who called and saved me.
What we've just heard is one of the most powerful and heartbreaking victim impact statements you will ever hear in a courtroom. Because this isn't just describing abuse. It's describing psychological imprisonment. Notice how the victim doesn't focus on physical acts. She focuses on fear, anxiety, panic attacks, isolation. That's incredibly significant legally, because courts consider not just the crime itself, but the lasting trauma it creates. And here's what makes this case especially disturbing. The alleged abuse didn't come from an outsider. It came from a parental figure, someone she trusted enough to call dad. That kind of betrayal often results in deeper, longer-lasting trauma than stranger abuse, because it rewires a child's entire sense of safety and identity. You can also hear something else unmistakable here: grooming patterns, alcohol, isolation, normalization, silence. These are classic coercive control behaviors, and courts treat them as aggravating factors during sentencing. So as this hearing moves forward, keep one question in mind. When someone destroys a child's sense of safety for years, can any prison sentence truly match that damage?
Because they knew and believed in me, that I would and will get justice for the things this so-called man has put me and my family through. I felt like I've been living a double life, having to keep quiet and wanting to say 24/7 for the last year. I haven't been able to be my true self, and the reason for that is Mike Boston, because he would give me alcohol and take advantage of me the second I fell asleep.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Heather Boston.
I don't even know where to begin.
Oh, I'm sorry, could you say your name again, please?
My name is Heather Boston.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't even know where to begin or even to start. One night we were a family, and the next minute later we was not. My daughter had spoke up. She was so brave, came forward. I went into fight or flight mode automatically knowing that this was going to flip our lives upside down, but the truth has to come out. I finally let someone in. I finally trusted with not just having 2 children with him, but with my daughter. He has been a part of Riley's life for a long time. We trusted him. We walked on eggshells. We were even played against each other for years and wasn't even aware. The manipulation and everything that he has caused, when it was just supposed to be him keeping not only all of us safe, but her. But instead, his position of trust, and again, once the manipulation turned in to watch and see how much he could get by with little by little, and then it all started with her. Even after this exposure and all that came out, I didn't even want to have to tell my boys. They have been through so much, not to mention what their sister has, but questioning. And when I have the different ages of the boys and the things that they have to do because they look up to this man, I had to keep quiet from August 8th until April 8th. Losing friends, losing family, but most of all, losing relationships with my kids. Because I was fighting as much as I could, and I couldn't even talk or really want to show my face because I missed it. And for some reason, I'm not going to take the blame for that. I know that one man's actions did have a lot of consequences, but yet he didn't think about them during the time. I've had all the kids in therapy from behavior, outbursts, hitting, throwing, blaming me for their dad being gone. He has destroyed our family, and I am left to figure out how to make ends meet, but also how to explain to them what is really and truly going on and try to help my daughter heal in the process. I feel ashamed and guilt because I did miss it, but I'm only one person, and I just never again thought that somebody this close would do that. Problems with all the secrets Riley and I had to keep made it even harder. And then it closed off and it made us afraid. We didn't even want to leave. We didn't want to go in the community. Every person, all the schools, even with me working there, everybody knows it was a true exposure. And it was completely betrayal. And he had fooled not only the people in that household, but everyone. But for Riley to have to wake up and to question herself, I just do not feel like it is okay. Brody misses and wonders and heals, and he's trying to be the older brother and act like he has to be the man of the house, but he hurts and he has so many questions, and he said he don't want to end up like him. Case has so much anger and door slammings and body shaking and yelling at me and blaming me because he remembers the day that his dad had to leave, not seeing him in the house or where he was, and the next his sister had to leave. So then I was the one to blame, and I will take the blame when it comes to that because I will do whatever it takes for my children.
Thank you, ma'am.
The mother's statement reveals another layer that jurists often weigh heavily in sentencing: collateral damage. Because sexual abuse cases involving family members rarely affect just one victim, they fracture entire households. Listen to what she described: therapy for all the children, behavioral crises, blame, financial collapse, loss of community, social stigma. That matters legally. Why? Because sentencing guidelines allow judges to consider the broader harm caused by an offender's conduct, not just to the direct victim, but to dependents and family stability. And in this case, the harm radiates outward: siblings traumatized, a mother carrying guilt, children losing both parents overnight. There's also a devastating theme here: trust inversion. The very person assigned to protect the children became the threat. Courts view that as one of the most serious aggravating factors possible. So now, as prosecutors and defense begin arguing sentence length, the courtroom isn't just evaluating criminal acts. It's weighing the destruction of an entire family system. And that changes everything.
Mr. Goodyear?
I know one thing that I think most courts consider when deciding what sentencing is, and of course, obviously you know that I provided you with the images, excuse me, that form the basis of the felony of the second degree charges. and some other images as well that I'm going to speak about. But in just determining the sentencing and determining how you're going to structure the sentencing, obviously I provide you with some case law about whether or not these offenses would or would not be allied offenses. And the reason I did that, obviously, is just the state's perspective that he should receive a consecutive sentence in this case. And we look at the statute regarding consecutive sentences, it says that one of the factors is at least 2 of the multiple offenses were committed as part of a course of conduct, which I think when you consider what happened here, you have a course of conduct with the photographs and the sexual abuse that the victim suffered. And that the harm caused by 2 or more of the multiple offenses was so great or unusual that no single prison term for any of the offenses committed as part of the course of conduct adequately reflects the seriousness of the offender's conduct. I think when you think about this case in total, you have an individual, and as I was going to say, courts a lot of times look at one factor I think that enhances the harm from an offense is when someone is in a position of trust. When someone in a position of trust takes advantage of that to commit a crime. And here, the defendant was in the ultimate position of trust. He was the father figure to the victim. As you heard in her statement, she viewed him as a father, but he viewed her as a sex object. And that's all she was to him. And if you think about it, this happened when she was 14, 15, and a little bit into her 16-year-old year. And there's just classic grooming behavior on his part as he worked his way into this girl's life in a sexual way. He provided her with alcohol. I read the PSI. The PSI gives a pretty good rendition of the facts in this case, but I would point out a couple things. One thing that's not in there that I know she indicated in her CAC interview and indicated when I spoke with her is not only would he give her alcohol, but he would show her explicit shows on TV. There's like a dating show on Netflix that's pretty sexually explicit. He would watch that with her. He would give her alcohol. He would talk with her about these things. And she indicated that the alcohol began when she was a freshman in high school. And you can see from the PSI that not only did obviously have the psychological effect that you've heard about, but also affected her school, affected her daily life because they were drinking so frequently. And he was doing it obviously behind his wife's back. And the victim indicated, Judge, that she would drink the alcohol, she would pass out, and she would wake up frequently to Mr. Boston touching her in various areas, and he would be masturbating on almost all those occasions. Sometimes he didn't, but on almost every occasion, she said he would wake up and he was masturbating while touching her breast, touching her buttocks, touching her inner thigh. And so, Judge, I think that when you look at the felonies of second degree, they're about the images. They're about the photographs that he took surreptitiously of her while she was in the bathroom. And obviously that's very serious, and those are awful charges. But then he's a little bit worse than the average person in possession of material like that, because he then went the next step and acted out the sexual abuse that he was obviously very focused on when we took those photographs. The photographs are clearly done for sexual gratification for himself. And then he acted that out with her. And he used alcohol to allow that to take place. And you heard about the impact that occurred on her life as a result of this. And Judge, the other thing that I think is pretty disturbing, at least to me, when you look at those photographs, I gave you, or asked you to review some photographs that were not depicting the victim in a state of nudity. They depicted 2 really disturbing images from my perspective. First, there's a picture of the victim laying across a bed, asleep, and he takes a photograph of her in essentially a tube top, but clearly focused on her breasts. And then there's a picture where you can see he takes the camera under a blanket where she's asleep in bed, under a blanket where she's wearing short shorts, and takes a picture of her crotch under the blanket. And it just shows, from my perspective, that his sexual desire for her was pervasive, and it affected all aspects of her life. And he totally took advantage, as I said, of the trust that the family gave him, and he used that to really have a horrible, terrible impact not only on her, but the family as well. So, Judge, the way I was thinking about this if you gave him the minimum sentence for one image, that's 2 years. If he got the minimum punishment for half of the images consecutive, that's 12 years. So he gets a minimum punishment for half of the photographs, that's 12 years. And so from the state's perspective, I know the court's aware that from the beginning it's been our position that any agreed sentence would be more than 10 years. And it's our position that he should receive a sentence of more than 10 years. And I think that that's from the state's perspective, that's a good guide. He gets a minimum punishment for half the photographs, that's 12 years. And I think the conduct he engaged in and the pervasive nature of his sexual abuse of the victim, I think warrants that type of sentence. And I did want to point out to the court, I know you know this, but another thing to think about from my perspective is the sexual imposition charges in this case are misdemeanors. Doesn't mean they're not serious, but they're misdemeanor offenses. However, in March of this year, that same conduct was made a felony sexual battery. So the legislature has said, we think this is egregious enough that we're actually going to change the law and make this a felony sexual battery. It's just the timing of it that makes this a misdemeanor sexual imposition. So I think that shows you, again, the seriousness of the conduct he engaged in. You've heard about the effect on her life and the family's life, and I think that sentence would be appropriate in this case. Thank you.
Mr. Oswald?
Thank you. Your Honor, Mr. Boston is 49 years old. He does have 3 children, 2 who are minor children, ages 6 and 11. He has no contact since the beginning of this case. Prior to these charges, he did obtain a GED. He was working full-time for an airlines as a mechanic, and my paperwork indicates he had no prior felony record. Now, Mr. Boston did accept responsibility by entering a plea in this case. He did that because he accepts responsibility and has genuine remorse and was not going to put the victim through a trial. With that, he understands his actions, that he destroyed his own life. He's now looking at a presumption of prison. He no longer has a job. He is currently in a divorce, and his marriage is gone. And he knows when he gets out, he's going to have to register as a sex offender. And he understands all that. And he understands he is the one that put him in that position. And then reviewing the Ohio Revised Code, Section 2929.12c, that Mr. Boston's conduct is less serious because he never did cause or expect to cause any physical harm to the victim. And also looking at the Ohio Revised Code 2929.12e, his conduct or his recidivism is less likely because he has no prior felony convictions. He has led a law-abiding life for a significant number of years. And this offense was committed in circumstances unlikely to reoccur. Since he's getting a divorce, he's never going to live with this victim again, so it's not going to occur. And most importantly, you'll hear from Mr. Boston, he shows genuine remorse for his actions. And again, I know we've discussed the case law with the 12 different photos, but Mr. Boston will tell you that it was all one incident. It was one event. And the state can't prove or disprove that because we don't have the metadata from the photos to show when they were taken because it was saved in the cloud. But Mr. Boston will tell you it was one incident. We're asking the court to view it as one incident even though there's 12 separate photos. And lastly, Mr. Boston asked that if there's any way he could have contact with his 2 minor children. He understands he can't be around any minor children after he's released and obviously as a sex offender. But he's had no contact with the 6-year-old and 11-year-old, and he's just asking if there's some way that you wouldn't do a stay-away order or anything where he wouldn't be able to have contact. And now Mr. Boston wants to address the court.
What do you want to tell me, Mr. Boston?
Well, I just wrote a statement I'd like to read to you.
Okay.
Well, thank you for allowing me to speak today. My name is Mike Boston. I was born September 29, 1975. I've got 3 sons, like you stated before, 29, 11, and 6. I've always talked about and believed in personal responsibility. So today I'm here to take full responsibility and ownership of my actions. I screwed up, and I'm aware of the consequences and penalties of my actions. With your permission, I'd like to make some apologies.
Go ahead.
First, Bradley, I'd like to say that I'm so sorry for breaking your trust and putting you through this ordeal. I'm ashamed and embarrassed of my actions. You do not deserve any of this hardship or pain that I've caused you, and I'm truly sorry. I hope that you heal from this quickly and go on to have a wonderful life. To Heather, I'm so sorry. I'm extremely mad at myself for the hardship and pain that you and the kids are and will go through. I wish that I could take it all back. But I love my family very much, and I will never forgive myself for what I have done and what I've lost. And I'd like to say to my two youngest sons, I love you and miss you very much, and I'm sorry for not being there for you recently. I've been praying every day that we can see each other again sometime, and I can't wait to hang out and play football and go fishing and watch the Bengals on Sunday. I just can't wait to give you guys a big old bear hug. I love you guys. To my oldest son, thank you for supporting me and being there for me. It means the world. I'm sorry for the burden that you feel to be there for me. I should be the one there for you. I love you very much. To my sisters and extended family, I know this had been very hard on you in so many ways, and I'm truly sorry. Thank you for the love and support. I love you guys. I'm sorry for letting everyone down. You know, when I was 20 years old, when my first son was born, being the best that I could became my life's mission. I've always worked full-time, coached sports, encouraged into education, shared life's knowledge, and provided the best life I could for my children. My children have been and will be my driving force in life. While working full-time, being a full-time parent, I went back to school full-time in 2001, and in 2003 I graduated, earning an airframe power plant license from the Federal Aviation Administration, and was a certified aircraft mechanic. 2010, as a single parent, I was able to buy a house. My two younger sons were born in December of 2013 and January of 2019. Their mother, Heather, and I were married in June of 2019. We lived in my house as a family from that point on. At this point, you know, like mentioned before, I've lost my marriage, my family, my house, life savings, my job, my career, my friends, and reputation, and more. I've not spoken or seen my two youngest sons in over 5 months. And the pain of that is unbearable. I feel like I have hurt everyone that I care for, and the life that I was so proud of is now a complete failure. This has been and continues to be a nightmare for everyone involved. Our family, my wife and I, Bradley, Brody, and Case, they mainly lived off my income alone, and I'm sure they're close to homelessness now. And I know that I caused that, and I'm unable to do anything about it. I cannot describe the amount of guilt I have over that. Your Honor, I'm not a career criminal. I've always tried to be the best person, father, provider that I could be. I'm truly sorry for my actions and sorry for all the pain and hardship that I've caused. As stated before, these pictures were taken one evening at one specific day and time. It was one event, and I just beside myself for I can't believe it. I am a human, and I've made mistakes. I've prayed for forgiveness and for healing for everyone affected. And in the beginning, I take full responsibility for my actions. And I also come before you today to beg you for mercy, so that I can be a father to my children, continue to work, to provide, and be a productive member of society. I'm truly sorry for everything that I've caused.
Now we're approaching the most consequential moment of this hearing, sentencing. And there's a critical legal tension here. The prosecution is arguing for a long consecutive sentence based on multiple images and a sustained pattern of abuse. The defense is pushing the opposite narrative. One incident, no prior record, remorse, and reduced likelihood of reoffense. But listen closely to what the judge is about to weigh, because this is where sentencing philosophy comes into play. Judges must balance three core factors: punishment, protection of society, and proportionality. Too harsh, and the sentence becomes legally excessive. Too lenient, and it fails to reflect the gravity of betrayal and harm. And in cases involving parental sexual abuse, courts often impose longer terms, not just because of the acts, but because of the violation of trust. So the question now isn't whether prison is coming. It's how many years the justice system believes equal a stolen childhood.
Thank you, sir.
So here's where we're at, Mr. Boston. Certainly, these offenses are serious offenses. I mean, there's no doubt in anybody's mind coming into this hearing that this is a prison term. The question being, how long is it that you are going to go to prison for? This is significantly exacerbated by your relationship as a parental figure. I think that is probably foremost in my mind. Keep saying that you did your best. Your best was terrible. And just not nearly good enough. Your job is to protect the family from influences like this, not to be that threat, not to be that harm. I do depart from Mr. Goodyear's thinking a little bit when we talk about per picture or per. I don't really know, Mr. Boston, that makes a lot of sense. The Court of Appeals tells me that each of these offenses, each of these pictures, even if taken in rapid succession, they constitute a separate matter. So there's not allied offenses. But I think to run up some sort of math figure that imposes consecutive sentences would be disproportionate to the conduct involved here or the danger posed by you. So I'm going to sentence you to 8 to 12 years in prison on each of the F2s. That means that you're going to get an 8-year minimum sentence. You're going to get an additional 4-year indefinite sentence. That's the Reagan-Tokes part of that sentence. It's presumed that you're released at the minimum term, but if you don't behave yourself while you're in there, pursuant to this notification, the Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections can keep you up to the maximum, which is 12 years. I am going to impose also a 12-month sentence on the felonies of the 5th degree. I'm going to make those concurrent to one another, but consecutive to the sentence that you're doing for the 2nd degree felonies. The misdemeanors are going to be a 60-day sentence. Those by law have to be concurrent to the time that you're already serving. So your total sentence is 9 to 12 years in prison. That is, we do F5s in months. So it'll be 9 to 12 years in prison with an 8-year prison term, followed by a 12-month consecutive term. I find that you are indigent for the purposes of fines and costs, so there won't be a financial sanction. You are required to register as a sex offender pursuant to the document that was provided to you, and you're going to be subject to a mandatory period of post-release control. That means the adult parole authority is going to supervise you for a period of 5 years. And if you violate the terms of that supervision, you can be returned to prison for up to 1/2 of my original sentence. Or if you violate by committing a new felony, then you can be returned to prison for up to 1 year, or the amount of time you have left on post-release control. It's automatically whichever of those is the longer period, and it's automatically consecutive to the days that you would receive for that new sentence. Is there anything else we need to do, or anything that I forgot?
Not that you forgot, Judge, but I believe the sentence would be 9 to 13.
Why would it? So it would be
Because it's a 4-year indefinite, but you added a year, so it'd be 9 to 13 to add the 4-year indefinite.
yes, you're right, 9 to 13. All right. Anything else?
No, sir. Thank you.
There was something said about a no contact order or something like that. I mean, I don't have the legal authority to put somebody in prison and also issue any type of supervision orders.
So here's where this case ultimately lands. Judge Donald E. Otis sentenced Michael Boston to 9 to 13 years in prison, followed by 5 years of mandatory post-release supervision and lifelong consequences as a registered sex offender. The court rejected both extremes. Not the maximum stacking prosecutors sought, not the minimal framing the defense argued. Instead, the judge focused on what he called the most aggravating factor of all, the defendant's role as a parental protector who became the source of harm. That distinction matters profoundly in sentencing law because crimes committed within positions of trust carry heavier moral and legal weight. The court also emphasized something many viewers noticed. Boston repeatedly described his actions as a mistake. But the judge made it clear this wasn't a mistake. It was sustained betrayal. And that distinction shaped the years he'll now serve. This case is a stark reminder that sexual abuse within families doesn't just wound individuals. It dismantles entire lives, identities, and futures. Justice here cannot restore what was taken, but it can acknowledge the depth of harm. And that's what this sentence represents. If you found this case as shocking as we did, make sure to hit that like button, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more jaw-dropping courtroom breakdowns.